I would like to welcome everyone to our webinar session today. We will be covering all the new and important updates on the law here in Portugal and everything you need to know. So before we begin, I would like to inform our audience and those who are new here that we will be offering an initial free consultation to the first 20 people who contact us. And we do understand that many of you have doubts and concerns about the new law that are very specific to your situation and may not be addressed during this session. So use the code SGP or partner to moving to Portugal, and we will be happy to schedule the consultation with you. So a quick introduction before we begin. My name is Marisa Colasso, and I'm part of the team at SGP Sandra Gomes Pinto Associados. And to introduce Dr. Sandra herself, she is a practicing lawyer with over 30 years of experience, supporting international clients with relocating to Portugal, investments here, litigation, and other legal matters. She has spoken all around the world on Portuguese visas, investment opportunities in Portugal, litigation, and arbitration, and she has also lectured in one of the top 50 law universities in the world in Heidelberg. So, Dr. Sandra, could you tell us about yourself and also introduce your firm?
Thank you, Marisa. It's also always a pleasure to do this with you. So I'm a practicing lawyer in Portugal for over 30 years. And in these last 10 years in my practice, we have focused a lot on assisting Americans, British, and Canadians to invest and to relocate to Portugal. I have a team of people that know the process from every detail. We try to make a legal, flawless process in terms of visa, but we are also extremely committed, and we committed our lives to this, to also have a positive impact on their relocation and to make them to have a happier and healthier life in Portugal, which is the case of the majority of our clients. We like to be of service. We like that people have someone they really can trust and that will do the process with them, accompanying them, so they never feel lonely or unsure, and they always feel fully supported by people that are extremely experienced in the process. We until now we have assisted over 500 families and individuals within the last 8 years. Moving to Portugal, and over 100 people with the citizenship process. So we are extremely committed to do this the best way we can.
Mm-hmm. And as you've mentioned, you've assisted more than 500 people in moving to Portugal and more than 100 citizenship applications. Can you tell us what the process looks like with both of these?
So we try to be a one-stop shop. So in terms of visa, you typically start, if you wanted to contact us to hire us today, we would have to agree on the fees. You'd start transferring the fees, and then we would immediately, with your data, issue our power of attorney, which you'll be signing. And then typically in a visa process, we will be doing the NIF. We will start immediately the bank account. By the time you have the VFS appointment, we would double check all your documentation, and we would also get the appointments for you, and everything that is in our power will be done by us, supervised by us, guided by us. So you never should feel unsure about any of the multiple formal details that this process compasses. Then by the time you go to the VFS appointment, typically we are not there, but it is as if we were, because we know all the details, and we know your process by heart, and we have verified everything and guided even for the VFS appointment. Then even after the appointment, we will be monitoring the issuing of the stamp on your passport, and once your passport is stamped, we would check if there's an AIMA appointment. If you don't have, we'll get the appointment for you, and then you'll always have a lawyer from my team that will be going to the appointment with you, which is also very important. And even after you having the appointment, we will be monitoring closely the issuance of the resident permit card. So typically for a visa process, our process ends when you receive the resident permit card. In terms of citizenship, we monitor daily all our applications, and this is a 365 days work, because if you are notified and you have to present a document and you don't do it in a certain timeline, your process can be cancelled and ended, and this is not what we wanted. So we what we want. So we really place close attention to all the details, and there are many details in respect to the citizenship process, and we have some ways also to expedite the process in a public system that is a little bit chaotic and has a lot of backlogs.
I think that gives us a good overview of the processes and what they look like from your end. Now, I think we can dive into the questions our viewers are also very interested in, and it's on the citizenship, the new citizenship law. And these questions address the most common anxieties, technical details, and concerns that our clients and our viewers have been asking about. So, regarding the impact on timelines and the day zero change, what do the recent changes to Portugal's nationality law actually mean for the timeline to citizenship now, Sandra?
So those that would like to acquire Portuguese citizenship through their residency in Portugal, which is typically called naturalisation, until now they had to reside here legally for 5 years. And now this amount of time was changed in the majority of cases for 10 years. And for those that are from the CPLP countries or the European countries, it's 7 years. Here, Portugal is following international standards and international criteria for the acquisition of citizenship. So it's not being innovative or specially demanding. We are just following international criteria, which, being one of the oldest nations in the world, makes all the sense.
And now to talk about the day zero change. When exactly does the clock start ticking for this new residency requirement?
The law starts ticking by the time of issuance of your resident permit card. So it's a date that you can check in your resident permit card of the issuance of this card. And from this day onwards, you have to count 5 years.
So is this the date when you receive your residence card in your hand? Is it then?
Now it's the date written in the card as the date of its issuance. Sometimes you receive it a little bit later, some weeks or months later in exceptional cases, but it's the time written in the card as the date of issuance of this card.
And now to talk about AIMA's processing delays, will this impact the overall arrival to passport timeline for new applicants?
There is still a backlog in AIMA. It's much better than it used to be 1 year ago. And typically it's some months backlog. So this won't have a huge impact on the citizenship application, although it will have some impact since the time for the 5 years. For the 10 years, we'll start counting by the date of issuance of this card. So if it takes a while to have the appointment, these months, additional months, will impact your citizenship process, but not in a very big way.
And I think a lot of people hearing about the new change in the law, citizenship law, have become a lot scared and have may want to know how the law also differentiates between the time spent physically in Portugal versus the time in lawful resident status.
I think that more and more it will be very relevant the time you reside actually in Portugal, because the whole system, the whole rules sets that you should have a strong connection with the Portuguese community, which typically requires you to reside a lot of time in Portugal. And so it will be important that also that you know history, that you know culture, that you know a lot about the Portuguese civil rights. And so for that, you do residing here, it's always a plus.
Yes. And now to talk about grandfathering and pending applications. So for those who have already submitted their nationality applications before this new law was passed, on May 18th, are they protected under the old 5-year rule?
Those that had their application submitted are fully protected, and this is clearly stated in an express way by the law. So this should not be a problem. So all those that had passed the 5-year threshold and submitted an application are fully protected, and this is written black and white in the law.
Mm-hmm. And for those also asking about their eligibility for the citizenship application, if they are close to the 5-year mark, is there some kind of transitional protections that they get? Are they covered?
It was nothing written expressly in the law. I know there are some law offices and some group pressures that are are pressuring the government and the president for this grandfathering, and a lot of people are telling about they will submit class actions, but until now we don't know exactly whether anyone in those situations will be grandfathered the previous regime.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and now coming to just more general questions that we've gotten. Will this new law change people's daily rights to live, work, or access the public health system in Portugal? Has there been any impact on these areas?
No, it will not. I think it's very important to give this clear and firm message that the great majority of the expats community here will not be impacted on their daily life because this law has changed. So they will keep the same rights, their daily rights and liberties, the same rights in terms of renovation of their visas, the same rights to access the public educational system or the national healthcare system. They won't feel in their daily life that any big difference. They still have the same rights to travel freely within the Schengen space. They won't feel in their daily life that they are not a foreigner, that they are a foreign in Portugal. This is common, and this is a very important message because a lot of ink has been spent and criticizing Portugal, but the great majority of foreigners won't feel that they are foreigners or won't feel any bias about them not being Portuguese in normal terms.
And how do these citizenship updates affect the current residence permit that people have and its renewals? Are there any changes? Are there any impact
No,
on renewals?
people have their full rights in terms of renovation are fully protected, and all the rights in terms also traveling freely within the Schengen area, the right to work in Portugal freely by the day one, the right to acquire property, to have their own business, to study, there won't be impact on their daily rights and liberties. And this is a very important message, unlike some other countries where you actually discriminated even in small stuff.
Mm-hmm. And now to talk about permanent residency. Does any part of this reform impact people's ability to apply for permanent residency at the 5-year mark? And can you tell us a little bit more about the process?
No, it won't impact. So it won't impact. And it's very important to know for all the expat community to know that after the 5-year threshold, and if they have the A2 level of Portuguese, they can apply for permanent residency, which will grant the right to live in Portugal forever if they want, as long as they comply with minimum stay requirements. So this is a huge thing. There's also a possibility to apply for a long-term European residency status, which facilitates enormously the possibility to reside in any other European state. And this is huge. And this also makes that this law is less impactful than the majority of influencers are less mature than what people are telling. After 5 years, you can obtain the right to reside forever in Portugal if you want, as long as you comply with minimum stay requirements. And once you have this permanent residency status, you do have to ask for a new card as you have to ask for a new passport, but it's not, you don't have actually, it's not a renovation of the visa, because you should be granted this right forever. And as long as you comply with minimum stay requirements and some other logistic requirements, you can reside here forever without major problems.
And for those asking, if their citizenship process takes several years and they've already submitted it before the law changed, should they also apply for permanent residency to maintain their active status during this wait of attaining?
Yes, they can. Of course, they can. And it depends on the personal situation and on the concrete situation, but in many cases, it might make sense.
And now I will take a question from our chat. Don Khan, he has sent us a message. I have my marriage registered in Portugal. If I initiate the citizenship via marriage process now, what is the anticipated timeline for obtaining citizenship? Also, can I move to Portugal in the interim and register for residency?
So, if you're married to a Portuguese, you are entitled to reside in Portugal. So, you can move to Portugal, but then you just have to do a registry before the AIMA, which is quite a bureaucratic process, and in the majority of cases, professional assistant would make sense. But this is something you can do now. You can, if you are married for over 3 years with a Portuguese, you can also apply for the Portuguese citizenship. It's a $1 billion question to know exactly how long that will take, but typically between 2 to 3 years, sometimes more. This is what is taking to obtain Portuguese citizenship.
And he also asked if he can move to the Portugal, if he can move to Portugal and register. I think you.
Yes, he can move to Portugal and register the marriage here.
Okay. And now moving on to the new integration and civic requirements. What are the new civic tests and the formal declaration of adherence to democratic values? What are these tests?
So we haven't had an example of this, so we will have to wait if there will be additional regulation and to the first cases to know exactly what it will entail. But you'll be obliged to know basic of Portuguese history, of Portuguese culture, of the Portuguese legal systems, rights and obligations. You're obliged to know this, but this won't be much different, I believe, than the standard of many other countries in the world.
So now people would be required to know more than just the A2 level.
Yes, they will have to know the basics of language, the culture, history, and also the rights and obligations.
And how have the rules regarding criminal records changed? Have they become stricter? Are they looking at sentences more than?
Yes, I think if you have do some violent crimes or crimes against the Portuguese nation, but it's extreme, exceptional situations, you may lose the Portuguese citizenship.
And I will take a question from our chat before we continue. Jeff Slade has said he is due to receive his golden visa within the next month. Will this new legislation affect his rights?
I don't know exactly in terms of the golden visa rights directly, it won't affect. It might be a problem whether he has already the legal residency for 5 years or not. I don't know if he applied already for citizenship or not. In terms of citizenship, he may be affected. Not the rights directly connected with the golden visa status only.
And another question from Victory. I have a D7 residence visa and would like to bring my dependent to live with me in Portugal. Could you please advise on the best process to follow for family reunification?
So ideally, I think it's always best to bring the dependents when you do your visa, but you can also do afterwards. This is a very specific thing. Can come back to us, send us an email, and we can explain you exactly how to do it.
And just as a reminder for anyone who has joined mid-session, we will be offering a free initial consultation for those who email us or message us with the code SGP or partner to moving to Portugal. And we have been sending in our contact information in the chat. So now moving on is just another question on the approval of citizenship applications. Is an in-person appointment now required for the final approval of citizenship?
No, it's not required.
And what action plan would you advise people to follow today to protect their position and secure their long-term status for Portugal?
So I think from day one, you should be starting learning Portuguese and make sure you do the A2 level as soon as possible. We verify time flies, so many of our clients have been already been for 5 years, 4 years. So do that from scratch. If you have the possibility, even start learning the language before coming to Portugal. It can be a huge benefit. Also, from day one and before even coming to Portugal, you should know about the culture, the rights, the history, the legal system. I advise you to try to know and to prepare for the exams and for as soon as possible.
And regarding citizenship through marriage and through parents, is this affected by the new laws, and what can you tell us about
No,
this process?
the new law didn't touch that. The process, you have the same, you maintain the same rights you have before the previous law.
And I think you already mentioned and touched on this, but could you give us an overview of citizenship through marriage and how can one apply through this route?
It's important to know at the first hand that if you're married with a Portuguese citizen, you have the right to reside in Portugal, even without citizenship. And it's a matter more of registry before the AIMA. Typically, a professional assistant here also makes sense, but you have the right to reside in Portugal. To acquire citizenship, you need to be married for over 3 years. It's important that the marriage is registered here in Portugal before the civil registry also. And in some cases, you have to show some connection within the 3 years threshold. You have to show some connection with the Portuguese community. After 6 years of marriage, this is no longer required.
Okay. And if you are born in Portugal, are you immediately Portuguese or not? I think this is a big question also.
I think also before the previous regime, that was not the case. So if you were born in Portugal, you would not be typically, in all cases, immediately Portuguese. Now, the new law set up an additional requirement. One of your parents has to be legally here for over 5 years.
And I will take another question from the chat. What are the main differences with citizenship and permanent residency?
I would say with permanent residence, to keep the status, you still have to have some little permanent requirements. With citizenship, this is not the case. There are some rights to vote that you have as a citizen and you don't have as a permanent resident. I would say these would be the most important differences.
And a question from Roy Branco. I was born in Portugal but live in Canada. My children were born in Canada. How do they apply for Portuguese citizenship?
But do you have Portuguese citizenship? If you were born in Portugal and have Portuguese citizenship, they can acquire Portuguese citizenship through you. So, but I think it would be better you send us an email and we can clarify your status, because you didn't tell me whether you were Portuguese or not. If you were born in Portugal and are Portuguese, your children can acquire Portuguese citizenship through you.
And now maybe we could just talk a little bit more about the process of relocating to Portugal. Have there been any changes on your end that you have seen, Dr. Sandra? And what would your advice be to people?
I think the D7 and D8, as it is probably the systems and the regime will be soon changed. So for those that would like to use this kind of visas, I would advise them to move forward as soon as possible. We've seen in the people from the US, for people that are within the Washington jurisdiction, there has been a scarcity of appointments. And this is a political or administrative decision. And I think in the future, probably Portugal will more and more incentivize younger people with innovative projects to come here than retirees. So for those that are interested in a D7, I would advise them to move fast, because we see a general tendency in Europe to reduce these easy pass visas such as the D7 or the D8.
And if you have any final advice for our audience, Dr. Sandra, you can.
I think it's important to say to the whole expat community that despite everything that has been said and spoken about the new law will not impact directly the daily life, the daily rights and liberties of the expat community. You'll keep the same rights to your visas, the same rights to renew the visas, the same rights to travel freely within the Schengen space, the same rights to access to the Portuguese national healthcare system, the same rights to access to the national healthcare system, the same rights to enjoy life in Portugal, the same rights to work from day one in Portugal, the same rights to own property without limits, to the same rights to do own business without any type of limitation. So this will not affect your daily life in Portugal. And after 5 years to the permanent residency status, you can acquire the right to reside in Portugal forever, as long as you comply with minimal stay requirements. So I think this is not what has been said, doesn't make much sense, because Portugal is only following international standards. And it makes all the sense that if you really want to acquire citizenship, which is an important thing, you should know the basics of culture, history, rights and obligations of a specific country.
And just another question from our chat. Gordon from Gordon Fancher, one of our clients. We have been hearing about a judicial ruling against AIMA. Can you give us your thoughts on the ruling and the likely impacts thereof?
I think that is has been a little bit more connected with the golden visa, but those that are being residing here and had the expectancy that after 5 years they would acquire the Portuguese citizenship. There are people preparing a class action trying that these people are grandfathering with the previous regime. I have some doubts that this will succeed, because the new regime only expressly protects those that had been residing for over 5 years and had already submitted citizenship applications.
And I'm seeing another question from Maria Maleni. I would like to start with my ancestor citizenship here in the States. Where do I go to file my papers? I'm located in Florida, but have not been able to get through to make an appointment with my local consulate. I have my Portuguese parents' birth certificate.
I think you can contact us. We can really assist you, represent you, and we will and it will be easier for you to start the citizenship process than going to the consulate.
And I would like to ask one of my team members to also put in our contact details. And as a reminder, we will be offering a free initial consultation to the first 30 who contact us at sgp@sandragomespinto.com. And we will look forward to hearing from you. And I would like to also thank Dr. Sandra for sharing her expertise as always. And to our audience, thank you for taking the time to be here. And we look forward to seeing you again on one of our webinars soon.
Let me just say goodbye. Thank you so much, Marisa, for doing this again with me. It's always a pleasure. If you still have questions, come back to us. If there are themes that you'd like to be covered by our webinars, send us an email. It will be our pleasure to do it. And also subscribe to our YouTube. We'll be committed to provide each day useful information and to clarify your legal doubts about your life in Portugal.
Thank you.